Welcome to the Quick Time Event Podcast. I am one of your hosts, Josh, and as always, I am joined by my partner in crime, John.
That be me.
Quick Time Event is a chance for John and I to get together each and every week to talk about all of the nerdy things that we love. If you like what you hear, you can find us live on twitch.tv/CDR Magnus every Thursday at 8:30 p.m. Eastern Time, or on all of your favorite podcast services all across the internet shortly after the live show ends. John, I'm not going to lie.
Yeah.
I was on total autopilot just now, and I said very wrong things. And I realized I was saying wrong things as I was saying them, and I just decided to go and complete my thought when I should have just stopped and saved us all of this time that I'm now taking to explain how wrong I was. We're not on Twitch. We haven't been on Twitch for ages.
Here's the worst thing.
Yeah?
I'm so on autopilot that I wasn't even paying any attention.
If you like what you hear, I should have said that we are on YouTube for a bit. We're figuring out this YouTube thing.
Okay.
Seeing how
I
it's
thought
going.
we did make the switch back to Twitch.
No. We are on YouTube. Yeah. Go to quicktimeevent.net and you can find our YouTube page, and we are streaming there right now, 8:30 p.m. Thursdays. We're also streaming the Let's Play series Tuesdays at 8 p.m. I had a reservation after, so we did the first stream on YouTube on Tuesday, and afterwards I said the quality didn't really look as good. It's because YouTube was still processing the stream. So as you stream it, YouTube's processing it, which takes a while. So basically, as soon as the stream ends, you can watch the standard definition, but the HD was still processing. So that's why. So now it looks fine. It looks great. Looks as good as it ever has on Twitch. So that was the hiccup that was making me go back to Twitch. But I think for right now, we're just going to kind of coast on YouTube. So quicktimeevent.net is the link to our YouTube page. You can find us streaming there for at least the next couple of weeks. We're going to see how it goes.
All right.
So it's what's with all this snow? I don't want to do a weather podcast, but I'm fucking tired of snow, man.
That was rough. I walked outside to walk my dog plenty of time before the podcast because I didn't want her to come in here and stare at me and huff and puff and just be a little shit. So I took her out like 30 minutes ago, and going one way it was fine, going the other I couldn't see.
And then we get on the other side of the snow, and apparently it's going to be like we're in goddamn Siberia for the next couple of weeks, or for the next couple of days, rather.
With cold temperatures?
Cold temps, yeah. Going to be down in the, what would it be in Celsius? Like the negative teens in Celsius, I think? Supposedly, with wind chill, maybe even less than that.
Now, here's the big question. Would they shut down college campuses?
I don't know.
I don't even know if college campuses are back in person, and like now,
they are.
I haven't been paying any attention because I can barely keep up with my own life.
I don't know. Well, I feel like they closed these days they only close if it's a cold temp kind of deal. It's never for snow.
Yeah, it's never for snow because they justify it by saying a lot of people live on campus and are walking.
Now, here's the thing with that, though, is that everybody is just at this point so accustomed to distance education.
Internet learning.
That I feel like maybe we're just done with that. Maybe like at this point, faculty are just going to be like, we're going to have it online this time.
There's no justification for snow days right now.
No.
Wow, that's shitty for all the like public school kids out there.
Right?
The one like lottery chance you had to look forward to was just taken away.
You had all those little rituals. Do you have any rituals you used to do to like conjure up a snow day?
Man, I feel like I did, but I can't remember now. I know that a big one, I don't think I ever really did it, but I remember hearing about it, was sleeping with your pajamas inside out.
I've heard that one.
But I don't think I ever did that one.
I didn't either. There was one that you used to do. Man, I can't remember what it was, but it involved a toilet. I'm not crazy about this.
No, this sounds like you're on the right track.
Like, is it that you flush an ice cube? That sounds like something I kind of remember.
I could see it. I'll buy it.
I just remember, like, I never had any of those. My ritual would be I would look at the weather forecast. Like I would be the fucking 6th grader watching the 11 o'clock news just to see what the weather's doing. And then I like in the early 2000s, before the internet was really the internet, or right around that time, I guess, I would go on to our local news channel's website and I would look at all the closings and like who had 2-hour delays at the night before and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, for sure.
So what you been up to? Weather aside.
What have I been up to? So I started a game, and I think it's the one that you're playing, and I can't remember which one it actually is now. Quick Google search is going to tell me if I'm right or not. Yeah, so I started a game that I'm pretty sure you're playing. Tales of Vesperia.
Which one?
Tales of Vesperia. Is that the one you're playing?
You said Vesperia?
Yeah.
Yes, I did start.
I'm playing the one with the shithead degenerate Yuri and Estelle, the pink-haired girl.
No.
Which one are you playing?
Fuck. I hate these fucking... Vesperia was the one, I think, on the 360. Right?
I think you're right. It was on sale on Switch around Christmas.
Yes. Tales of
$10.
Tales of Vesperia is the one that almost nobody played because it was an exclusive title to the Xbox 360 until they re-released it recently. No,
Gotcha.
I am playing...
Are you playing Berseria or whatever the hell?
No, there's Berseria. I'm playing Zesti... Is it this one? Yes, I'm playing Tales of Zestiria. So Zestiria...
That's really annoying that they chose to make the Tales of, and then the word is either Besteria, Vesperia, or Zesteria.
They're not all like that. Zestiria and Berseria are related. They came out a year after each other, and those two games take place in the same universe. So from what I understand, This is the first time I've ever played a Tales game. Most of these games are standalone games. They don't relate to one another. There are some that have...
They have the Final Fantasy syndrome.
Sure. There are some that have direct sequels. Like there's... I have the pulled up here. There's like... Tales of... No. Go to the Tales series. Go... fuck you. Not the... Why is there an anime? There doesn't need to be an anime of every game.
It is anime. That's what these games are.
Sure, but there doesn't need to be an anime of the anime game.
No, I know.
Okay. Tales series. Anyway, there are some that have like, it's not Tales of, there's like a Tales of Abyss and a Tales of Abyss 2 or something like that. Like there's ones that have direct sequels. Zestiria and Berseria are related. They take place in the same world, but they take place at like 1,000 years apart.
Oh, cool.
These are also
how are they related? In 1,000 years passes,
the other thing is, like Final Fantasy, these games have different ideas. Like they're not all the same. Like they have same elements, but like the plot points can be really different. So like one game might deal with like supernatural things like werewolves, and one might not do that at all. It just kind of depends on what the story is.
Okay.
So these ones, it's important, like they deal with similar themes. These are also the newest games. Zestiria was the first one that came out. It was in 2015, and then Berseria came out in 2016. Berseria is the one that more people, that's like a more well-regarded game. More people played that one.
Is that, which one did you say? Because honestly, the titles, they really sound similar to
Tales
me.
of Berseria is the one that more people like. That one's a PlayStation classic, actually. It's like it's got the little red box or whatever for the PlayStation classic games. That one's on there. Zestiria is not.
Okay.
So I wanted to play the newest one. That one was also one I was considering, except when I went to go buy this one was on sale. It was $8. Berseria is a PlayStation classic. It's like $19.99 always anyway. Mm-hmm. The one you're playing, because it's a remaster, it was still like full price. So when I checked it, it was like $49.99. I did consider playing that one, but I didn't want to pay essentially full price for...
No, I get you. The only reason that I'm playing it is because, like I said, it was on the like holiday New Year sale on Switch, they had it for like 75% off. I think it was under 15 for sure. It might have been $10, and I was like, well, yeah, that makes sense. If it was $10 and it's 75% off of a $40 price tag.
That tracks.
So yeah, I figured I'm gonna get that one. So
so tell me about the game you're playing. What I want to know how it's different from the one I'm playing.
Well, I don't know.
So tell me about the story.
I wasn't so the story is very anime. We're trying to everybody's trying to do their own goal. Like they've got their own objective, and they just happen to like kind of coincide, or at least coincide enough to travel together, which is really annoying. Like, none of them are willing to admit that they're having fun traveling together or just want to travel together. They're all just like, oh, I have this excuse to travel with you, so I guess we can keep doing this. Disregard the like fun conversations and like bonding that we're having. This is it's almost an obligation, and it's like, shut up, stop it, don't be like that.
Are there quick aside, are there like little optional conversations you can have?
Yeah, and it goes into like not bad animation, but really simple animation.
Did you watch what the fuck is the name of that really popular anime right now? Demon Slayer?
No.
Okay. There's like at the end of Demon Slayer episodes, there's something like in my game they also have these optional side conversations where you click the left stick and you watch a scene.
For me,
essentially.
It's the minus button.
And it's essentially like sprites. It looks kind of like Persona almost, where like the two sprites come up and they're like having a conversation.
Yeah. Are they pretty simple though in like design and detail?
They're definitely simpler than like the game would lead you to
like
believe.
They're flat.
Yeah,
they're flat.
Yeah.
No, that it has that for sure. But yeah, you're trying to like everybody's got their own goal. One person wants to find this one knight. One person wants to take back this core thing that like powered the lower town, like the seedier part of town's water source. One person's like a researcher. One person's just an absolute shithead.
One person's trying to take water away from people.
No, they're trying to get the thing back that gives water to people. Somebody came. Okay, that's how the game starts. This hooded figure comes and steals the gem thing.
I was gonna say there's a party member that wants to.
Yeah, there's just a
commit eco-terrorism.
Yeah. Anyways, I was not expecting the combat to be the way it is.
How was your combat?
I thought I was gonna get like turn-based, like JRPG combat, where like I choose what to do, kind of like Persona style, or even Pokemon or something. But it's like almost live combat, I guess. Like you enter a little battle, and you can run back and forth and just like swing your sword and do various attacks based on what like button combos you do.
Okay. Are there spells and stuff?
What do you define spells?
So like in my game, and this is sort of what JRPGs have become. There's really not very many games that have true turn-based combat anymore. Like even like this is what Final Fantasy VII plays like. So if you like this combat, again, go and play Final Fantasy VII Remake, because this is the kind of combat that it is. Like in Tales of Zestiria, it's similar where like you enter the battle. There's a distinct like you don't just like enter the battle. There's a distinct like hiccup between the world roaming around to the battle.
Like you collide, stars show up on the screen at like white flashes, and then you're in a very different, you're in like a little mini arena almost.
Right. So then that happens, and then like you said, you can move around with your character, and then you can attack the enemy by pressing a button. But in my game, there's no combos with the buttons. It's like you have just a basic swing attack, and then you can like map like a spell to another button, and then there's like different kind of, I forget, it's called arts, I think. There's like martial arts and special arts.
ARTES.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the same way. When I meant combos, I meant like So on the Switch, it's the B button that does just the general attack, which is usually just like a sword attack. Um, and then depending on which way you're holding the stick, and if you hit A, it does one of 4 like special attacks.
Okay, it's the same way in mine. Yeah, it's the same way. Yep.
Which like took a little bit of getting used to because this is the first time I'm playing a game like that. So that like I'm sure it explained it. It just went over my head.
Sure.
Because I was like, how do I do?
No, that
like,
was
I unlocked all these random skills. I don't know how I equip them. I don't know how to even use them. Like and this is why I thought it was a combo. For the longest time, I was like, okay, if I hit B, 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 and then A, it does this one attack. So that must be how I'm doing it. Turns out I was just holding to the side and hitting A, and that's how I was getting the stupid thing to work.
Yeah. I will, let me backtrack a second. This combat system is not Final Fantasy VII Remakes. 7 Remake is much more complex than this, where there are actually not complex as in, it's more complex as in like you're not just like standing there. Like in my game, you can set in Stadia, you can set it to where like you can only move forward and backward basically toward an enemy and away from an enemy.
That's how mine is. However, if you hit or if you
can
hold,
change
like,
it.
Left trigger, you can just free run.
Same thing in Remake. It's more of an action game. It's basically like you're playing Zelda or whatever. Like you have actual combinations where like you can light attacks, heavy attacks, and then you also have the spells on top of it. So Final Fantasy VII Remake is very different from this. It's not the same, but it's similar where it's more active time combat. It's not turn-based combat is what I was trying to get at. I want to say though is I 100% agree with you that the game does a horrible job of explaining how to fucking play it. Mine did too. Like it gives you all of these like really overwhelming button mapping screens where it's like you start the game and it's like, here's the controller layout and there's 50 things you need to read. And you also need to remember what all the buttons do.
I don't remember mine even giving me the controller layout at the start. They were just like, hey, here, you're in the game now.
It's like there's no tutorial. Like they don't and I don't necessarily want hand holding. Like Persona 5 has a 20-hour probably like tutorial essentially. Like you're 20 hours in before you fully understand how to do everything in that game, but they're also giving it to you piecemeal so that you're not overwhelmed with it at the beginning. And these games do a terrible job apparently at that because there's way too much to read at the beginning. There's way too many like sub menus within the menus to dig through. And like the combos you're talking about with like moving the stick left and right, that's not clear, even though it kind of it's very unclear.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Also, I don't know if this is like, so I've like pretty much fought every enemy that I've like run across, and I'm only like 4 hours into the game, and I'm now at like this random ass boss, and I'm just getting absolutely pushed in by him, and I was like, what? Am I doing something wrong? And so I Googled it and they were like, yeah, you should probably be level 16 for this. All of my guys were 13. And I was like, how the fuck am I underleveled if I've been playing this game for like 4 hours?
That to me sounds like a class. I mean, yours was a 360 era game. So that to me sounds more like
I'm already grinding
of the 90s.
Which is, I'm already grinding, which I'm a little annoyed by. I'm hoping that this is like I don't know, once every 10 hours thing that I have to do, or like I'll grind out for an hour if I have to here and there. But like if it's okay, it's time for the next boss, but first go grind for an hour, that's going to get old real fast.
Yeah, I'm probably only like 4 or 5 hours in. I've like really done the introduction.
That's about how far I am. I'd say I'm at the probably 5 hour mark.
Okay. I haven't had any issues with combat or anything, but mine has all been basically tutorial. With mine, with Tales of Zestiria, it's a King Arthur story. Like there's even like you pull it's set in a setting that's basically England. There's a town called Lady Lake and you go to Lady Lake and you participate in a festival where you take a sword out of the stone and then you basically become the savior for mankind, because all of mankind essentially has like been enveloped in this like fog of war, basically, where everyone's just like turning into werewolves essentially because they're losing their touch with humanity apparently, and you
All
gotta go
right.
save them as you do in these kind of games. You gotta save the day. So
See, the one that I'm playing, it's less obvious. Like it seems more subtle right now, at least whatever the big problem is, because like all the people that I'm running across are totally fine for the most part. Like, yeah, we're solving problems as we go, but like there's no global crisis that's happening that's affecting like everybody. At least not yet. I'm sure that there will be, but at the moment things are fine.
I don't know how I feel about it. I'm not loving it. I like the characters. I like the soundtrack a lot.
Sure.
The score is really good. Um, it's just it doesn't have its hooks in me yet. I'm gonna give it the time. This isn't something I'm gonna put down. I'm gonna put like 5 to 10 more hours into it, and hopefully it grabs me. But right now,
Yeah.
it's kind of like I've played games that are like better than this. Like there are JRPGs out here that do this better.
Sure.
So I don't
Yeah,
know.
I'm kind of in the same boat. I really like the characters. I like the interactions between them, and honestly, I really like those little like side scenes that are just the simple animation,
Sure.
the flatter animation. Because like you've got like the shitty kind of full of himself main character, um, who's causing trouble everywhere. You've got this just horribly naive, like royal upbringing, never left her room kind of girl going out on her first adventure. And then you've got a dog, and the dog's great. But then like you start to get the fourth character, I was like, this guy sucks. He's like this little kid who thinks he's
Oh, I
the shit.
hate.
He's like, oh, I'm a really big shot member of this hunting guild, and you're like, shut the hell up.
I
And
hate that
the
archetype.
main character gives him shit all the time, so it's kind of nice. And recently I had this like sciencey researcher person who's also kind of full of herself, but in a different way. Like I'm super smart and I know it, but also kind of a social outcast.
Has there ever
So
been a character like that that you think has been done well? Like a child character
who's
that's
full of
like
themselves?
not that's not like just any. Okay, so you're watching anything like a movie, a TV show, an anime, a game, or
Sure.
whatever, and there's a kid that's introduced, and like the show's not necessarily about kids, but there's like this kid character that comes in and is now like a main character that joins the group or is a part of that. Is there any character that's ever been done in that is done well or that you like? I can only think
I
of one,
can't.
and it's because I'm very biased. And it's
I
not.
can't
No, I
think
actually
of
think it's a good
anybody.
character. Kanemata in Persona 3 is like the only instance of that where like he's actually that character is like really reserved and like humble, and
Yeah.
something really interesting happens in his character arc about 2/3 of the way through the game. But like almost all of those kids come in as like, yeah, I'm this hot shot. Like, look at how good I am, and then they either get their asses kicked or something. It's like I don't need this.
Yeah.
Keep kids out of my games.
I can't think of anybody who I'm not annoyed that fits that trope. Anyways, so yeah, I've been playing that. More One Piece, of course. Almost real close to episode 300. I was hoping to get there by today, but oh well. You and I played a little bit of Apex. That was actually very fun. I wasn't surprised that it was fun with like you and our mutual friend. I was surprised that I was having fun with the game Apex in general. um oh, I think I mentioned buying this forever ago, but I played that really fucking weird game. I
Moon?
have no mouth and
Oh
I must scream.
no.
Yeah, it was on sale on Steam forever ago, and I was like, this title alone has me intrigued. Just really fucking weird. It's apparently like a collection, I think, of short stories from forever ago, and I don't know how to describe it. It's
Unsettling. It sounds unsettling.
Yeah, it was. It was very unsettling. So moving right along.
Okay. Let's get out of there.
I feel like there's one more thing that I did, but I can't remember it now.
Watching any more?
Oh, I've been watching more just randomly some like speedrunners. They are a different breed, man. Some of the things that these speedrunners do, it's just like, what? What? You're having fun, right? Repeatedly doing this thing for like you get 10 minutes into your run and you have to reset and you're doing that for hours. Like, oh my God.
Yeah, but like you're watching it. So you're not even the one doing it is the thing.
I think I'm out. I think I'm out now.
Okay.
Like I think I got my fill.
Yeah, I can't watch speedrunners. It's not something that like appeals to me. Every now and then, like when GD, what the fuck
AGDQ
is
or SGDQ?
Sure, when that happens, I'm more likely to watch some of that because there's like an announcer that's like,
yeah.
So there's color commentary essentially, but like just watching speedrunners.
That's mostly what I was watching.
Okay.
Was stuff like that.
But yeah, I don't tune into that kind of stuff. I mean, I understand why they do it. It's like games are all like, they've always been about high score. Like in the arcade, that's what arcade games are all about. And so to get the fastest time is cool. It's just
a version of doing that.
Exactly. Yeah. It's what I'm sure most people do with trophies. It's like, I don't give a shit about the trophies, but like, if you do, you do. So
yeah.
Watching any Marvel yet?
I was supposed to, and then it didn't happen. So probably this weekend.
I am watching lots of Marvel. So we WandaVision last week. Cracks happened. We saw the other side of the mirror essentially, and I think that this week we're going back to the other side. So I really like this pace that they're doing, where they're giving us like 2 or 3 episodes of the sitcom-y stuff, and then the last episode was what is actually happening. And now we're going back to the other side, I think.
Okay.
So I think that if they keep that pace up, we're halfway through. So theoretically 4 or 5 more episodes or whatever, they'll be good with pacing.
Okay. That's good.
Janet just was like, hey, let's rewatch all the Marvel movies. So we started the
son of a bitch.
Yeah. So we're past you. We've watched, and there in Disney Plus, there is a timeline order. I don't know that I would necessarily recommend the timeline order. I would probably recommend release order, but we're watching them in the timeline order. So we've watched what the I guess it was Captain Marvel was the first one. No, sorry.
Captain America?
No, Captain America was the first one. Then Captain Marvel. Then
oh, yeah, that's already
yeah
horribly out of release order.
Well, because Captain Marvel takes place in the 90s. It's like 1993 or whatever. So yeah, so Captain America, Captain Marvel. Then we just watched the Iron Man, the first Iron Man. I forgot, honestly, that like the first in phase 1 of the MCU, I don't know how many movies were Paramount movies, but at least Captain America and Iron Man were. And I think that Captain America was the last movie that came out before the Avengers, which means basically all of phase 1 was under Paramount and not Disney, which was surprising to me because I don't remember that being a thing. Iron Man 1 holds up in some ways and does not hold up in some ways. You can definitely tell that Paramount like has like their own edginess to them. And like Tony Stark is kind of an edgy dude to begin with, but there's like you can tell there's a big difference between Tony Stark in the first movie and like even just the themes that they played with in the first movie and what Disney started to do after that. So yeah, we're enjoying ourselves. We're going to try and get as far as we can.
Before we get burnt out.
Sure. But yeah, WandaVision is really it's really kicking all this off. And I'm so excited that we basically have like a show to look forward to every week, considering the other Disney Plus series that are going to be kicking off with Thor or with Loki rather, and the others. So heavily invested in the MCU right now. Already talked about Tales. And already talked about
really thought
Apex.
we were playing the same one, man.
Nope.
I was so excited. I was going to be like, hey, we can have like back and forth discussion on our thoughts on this 60 to 80 hour game. I think it's in there.
I always look at trophy guides before I do anything, and so the time to platinum was 90 hours for this game, but it requires 2 playthroughs. So I'm expecting like 40 to 50 hours to get through the game. So I don't really know, but
since you did that, I just went to how long to beat, and it places the game I'm playing at 50 to 60. So
sounds about right. Now, will I drop this like a hot potato? I guess you... Isn't hot potato...
At this point, it's not a hot potato. At this point, you would have third-degree burns on your hands, and then you would drop it, thus making it a kind of a moot point.
Sure. Regardless, if I'm not done with it by February 19th, I'm probably never going to finish it. So we will see how that works.
That's a lot of game to beat or to play in literally 2 weeks.
I'm dragging my feet this year. I think it's just because I threw so much. I played so much last fall.
Yeah, that's fair. You're a little burnt out. That's okay.
Just a little bit. Got a lot to look forward to, though.
That is true.
Let us move on to our topic of the show, which is a holdover from last week, where we discussed Kevin Hart's casting as Roland in the Borderlands movie. And we decided at that time...
I can now say, with certainty, I could say it pretty much with certainty before, but now after critical thought, is wrong.
Bad casting.
Bad casting choice.
We're going to cast our own versions of the Borderlands movie. So John and I both have a list of characters that we had to cast. I came up with my own list of actors and actresses to fill these roles. John did as well.
Yep.
And we're going to go through...
I wonder if we're going to have any overlap.
I wonder too. I'm actually like really happy with my cast list. Like if this movie came out and it was these, I would be pretty happy with it.
Yeah.
So here's the characters we're going...
I would go see this movie.
Here's the characters.
Not in theaters.
No.
Hell no.
So Claptrap, Angel, Roland, Lilith, Mordecai, Brick, Tannis, Scooter, Mad Moxie, Dr. Zed, and Marcus. And then just for fun, we're also going to cast Mr. Torg and Handsome Jack, even though those two characters were not in Borderlands. I had to look up Mr. Torg when Mr. Torg's first appearance was, and it was in Borderlands, his DLC in Borderlands 2. Like that was the first time we ever met Mr. Torg, and it feels like I've known Mr. Torg my whole life. I don't know what reality really is. But let's get into this. Let's start off with the mascot character. Who do you have for Claptrap?
Man, I'm riding on his comedic value and his ability to his already proven ability to play a like animated character. So I went with Ben Schwartz.
Damn it, that's a really good casting for him.
Yeah.
I really tried to think like who I would get. I hovered around like a couple of the really dumb comedic actors, and I just couldn't place it. And then I remembered that Claptrap is a robot, and if you were gonna bring in the actual voice actor, this would be the one. And I think that Claptrap is so iconic. I think that Ben Schwartz could do an amazing job at being Claptrap, but I think that David Eddings, who is the voice of Claptrap in all the Borderlands games except 3, because Randy Pitchford is terrible.
Yeah.
I think that I would cast him, the actual actor, as Claptrap.
I almost did. I was considering going that route, but I figured let's have the Hollywood mentality, get as many big names as we can to really push people out to come and see this.
I like the Ben Schwartz casting better, honestly. So I'll agree with that. Next up,
starting off strong. Starting off real strong.
Next up, let's move on to... Let's skip Angel, we'll come back to Angel. Let's go to the Vault Hunters. Who is headlining this movie? Who are our actors going to be? We'll start off with Roland.
Let's go.
Are you giving Kevin Hart the boot? Is he fired?
Yeah, Kevin Hart is out of this film. He is no longer associated with the Borderlands movie franchise. Um, I think there's a decent chance that we might have the same person.
I don't know.
Maybe not. I went mostly with muscly and has acted in a couple of different roles before. So I went with good old Dwayne the Rock Johnson.
I could no, it's not. That I could see him. I wanted someone a little like
more serious,
moodier. Yeah, like someone like more darker and like I don't know. Serious is a good way to put it.
Sure.
I'm casting Michael B. Jordan in that role.
Okay.
Michael B. Jordan, I feel like his role, him playing Killmonger in Black Panther, like I want him to bring that energy, not like the swagger necessarily, because I don't know that Roland really has swagger. Roland is really just a soldier that's like a blank slate or whatever. But
yeah,
I think that Michael B. Jordan would be a good person in that role. Like bringing that like seriousness that he had in some of those scenes in Black Panther. And he's acted in some like he was wasn't he the original what the fuck, the Human Torch in one of the Fantastic Four movies?
Maybe.
I'm pretty sure he was the Human Torch in one of those terrible Fantastic Four movies, who is usually like a lighthearted character. So I think that he has some of that, like I don't know what you would call it, like not comedy, but like he can appreciate that in an acting sense, I guess. He brings both sides.
I do have a backup that I just wanna bring up, and that is because I really haven't seen him, but I just feel like the character that he played would go well with Roland as a character, and that's Ray Fisher, who played Cyborg.
Oh.
I feel like he would also like, he's my backup choice.
I don't really know much about him other than whoever ended up directing the Justice League movie after Snyder left, like kind of dicked him over in some way, and so he was pissed about that, and he's like no longer playing Cyborg because he doesn't want to deal with DC or Warner Brothers, I guess. I could see him. Yeah. He'd be a good choice. Again, Roland to me...
He's my backup.
Roland to me is like the least interesting character in that entire series.
It's true, yeah. Dwayne, you're going to have to dial it back, buddy. This movie ain't about you.
That's true. Okay, moving on to Lilith. Who you got for Lilith?
All right. I went with because Lilith to me has always been like kind of snarky, kind of sarcastic, quippy. So I went with Tina Fey.
Okay.
I think she'd do a good job. I think she'd bring enough like serious vibes when she needs to, but like would kind of ad lib and give everybody else shit, and it would just work out well.
Sure. I there were a lot of actors that I would have included probably 10 years ago, but like I really wanted to cast Jim Carrey somewhere in there. But he's way too fucking old, and like Tina Fey is getting up there in age too. So I didn't end up doing. To me, Tina Fey would be a great Tannis. I think I didn't cast her as Tannis, but I think Tina Fey could play that character. I don't know about like the action hero badass.
I guess character. Yeah. I was thinking more the
Starky,
personality, less the
that makes sense.
Less action. So
I can follow you there. I'm casting Brie Larson because I fucking love Brie Larson. Brie Larson is like probably my favorite actress right now.
Good call.
She's also a hashtag pro gamer. She has streamed. I don't know. She's streamed on YouTube or something. I know she plays a little Animal Crossing, but like she's active on the internet. She understands internet culture. I would not be surprised.
She would understand what it means to be in a video game based movie.
Right. Exactly. She could bring the right energy to it, and she has some snarky. She's played some snarky characters. Captain Marvel can be snarky at times, and Captain Marvel's a total badass, as is Lilith. So.
Yeah, that's true.
Let's bring in Brie. Mordecai.
I wonder how many characters of mine, how many castings I made, you're going to give me shit on their age. And I'm just very out of touch with celebrities and ages and stuff like that. So, like, whoops. I'm also out of touch. If any person on my list has been in like a major controversy, I would obviously cut them from this casting. So let's just be upfront about that. I know nothing about where all these actors are today.
Sure.
For Mordecai, just kind of a kind of weirdo sometimes, and a little bit of a loner-ish, except for his bird. I think that vibe would be very well captured with Johnny Depp. That's who I first thought of when I was like, who would play Mordecai?
Yeah, he's got like that mysterious kind of like brooding to him, essentially.
Yeah, kind of like just Jack Sparrow, but like less crazy, more reserved, but still as eccentric.
Checks out.
That's who I went with anyways.
I'm going with Pedro Pascal because he's another guy that just like I didn't really know who Pedro Pascal was until The Mandalorian. But like to your point about like being the loner and that brooding, I think he does that to a T in The Mandalorian. But he also has that ridiculous side to him that we just saw in Wonder Woman, where he plays this outlandish fucking like TV host essentially that like is trying to make you buy as seen on TV stuff. Like he can do both sides, and I think that like I don't know, I would like to see him in that role. I think he kind of embodies a lot of what Mordecai is about. In this movie we don't, or in this movie we wouldn't see the tragedy that happens in Borderlands 2 for him.
Thank God.
But yeah.
We're going to write that out when we get to the sequel anyways.
Last of our Vault Hunters, who do you have for Brick?
So I haven't seen what he's originally from. I went mostly based on aesthetic and the fact that like Brick doesn't talk that much, I don't think. Right?
Well, none of them talk in Borderlands. He talks.
That's true.
He talks a lot in Borderlands too. There was that whole mission where you like go and you get the Scab King or whatever.
Yeah, I guess. Regardless, he was in a very famous show, so I think he knows his shit when it comes to acting. I went with Gregor Clegane.
Oh,
also
the
known as
mountain.
The Mountain.
Yeah, the mountain. You know what? By body type alone.
Yeah.
Gregor Clegane. That was the
first. That was the first instinct. I was
what's
like,
his actual name?
Gregor Clegane.
No, that's not his name. That's his character, isn't it?
Oh no, you're right.
That's his name in Game of Thrones.
Damn it! I searched who is the mountain, and I just assumed that was a real name.
No.
Who the hell is that?
That's what I thought. He's very Nordic. He's legitimately the strongest man in the world. Like
Hofbor Julius Bjornsson.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. His name is not the mountain. Although he basically
also not
is
Gregor Clegane, apparently.
Yes.
But yeah, that's who I cast.
That's a good.
Mostly like I said, on body type and just sheer strength alone. Like you don't have to give him props that look heavy, but are made of styrofoam. You can give him like
the
legitimate
dude
things.
like throws around like huge tree trunks. He'll be fine.
Yeah. So let's go, Mountain Man.
Ah, boy. I am casting Josh Brolin in that role.
What do I know Josh Brolin?
Josh Brolin he's played a ton of stuff over the years. Most recently, he's played Thanos. He played Cable in the Deadpool movies.
Yeah.
He's a big dude. He's got like that presence to him. He would probably have to bulk up, and I'm sure there would be some kind of CGI involved, but like
without a doubt.
Yeah, I think that he has the range for that. He can be ridiculous if he wants to.
It's true.
Let's double back to Angel.
Going back to Angel. This was a kind of a hard one.
Yeah, I agree.
Cuz like Angel, I don't know, she's so important to the story but also not.
Sure.
Like she never feels important until you get to a certain point of the game. And I don't even remember, is it in the first game or?
You really don't find out what she is until the second game, I think. I think in the first game, she's just like, oh, this person's helping you.
In the first game, I think at the end, they're like, hey, this Angel person's actually a satellite But then they kind of retcon that in 2, and they're like, no,
Oh,
the satellite
no,
was where you were getting the communication from.
She's actually a siren, and she's actually all these other stuff that is plot heavy.
Yeah. Anyways, I wasn't 100% sure who to go with, so I went with somebody that I think would visually fit the look and has a decent enough range, but like also kind of, this is gonna sound really insulting, kind of generic, because like I don't really know what Angel would do in this movie.
I think this would be a case of she'd be CGI anyway. Like,
yeah,
it could really be anything.
But I went with Zooey Deschanel.
Okay.
Mostly on appearances.
Sure.
Where I was like, I think you would fit this look of what Angel actually looks like. You rarely actually deal with her directly, so again, you could just choose a voice and animate the rest.
Right.
I don't know if that's the route you went with.
No. I guess, like, okay, but for you, for long term, let's say they make the Borderlands 2 movie. Is Zooey Deschanel who you want to be Angel in Borderlands 2?
I think so. Yeah.
Okay.
I think she is.
I'm going with Elizabeth Olsen. I think mostly because I'm stuck in Marvel world right now, and WandaVision is the thing that is just like dominating everything for me. But also,
I was very conscious to not, I don't think, rely too heavily on one like franchise or one cat, because you could probably go and find all these actors within the Marvel universe if you wanted, or all of them within maybe not the DC universe, but like any big production, especially with multiple movies or multiple TV shows or stuff like that, you could find somebody to fit all of these different roles.
Yeah, I'm not necessarily looking at it from like they did good in the. I think for me, it's like these are actors and actresses that are young enough to be able to play these kind of roles.
Yeah,
and so for me, because a lot of my knowledge about actors and actresses are like people who would have played these roles 10 or 15 years ago, but they're a little too old right now. I guess don't tell that to Tom Cruise or whatever, but like, I don't know. But again, Elizabeth Olsen, sort of like a generic sort of looking actress who plays someone mysterious, not really that much speaking involved, but like as far as weird like magic-y tech things go, I think she's got that down.
All right.
Who you got?
Jumping, we say jumping, we're jumping around. For everybody listening, you don't know or don't see this. We have lists in front of us.
Sure.
That's why we mean jumping around.
Let's go on to Tannis. Who you got for Tannis?
Somebody that you're gonna also say is too old, and you
Tannis is okay.
Tannis you can't have a movie with Tina Fey without Amy Poehler, so there she is.
All right.
Because Tannis is just like kind of crazy, kind of unhinged. Like she's really smart, but it came at a price.
Yeah. Sure.
And
she's living on Pandora. No one can be 100% there and living on Pandora.
So I was like, all right, Amy Poehler played oh my god, I forget her name now. Leslie Knope. And sometimes Leslie Knope was absolutely mad, like insanity mad. So you know that she's able to do that just fine. So I went with Amy Poehler for Tannis. What'd you go with?
I'm going with Anna Kendrick for Tannis.
That's a good call. I like that.
She also
damn it, why didn't I cast Anna Kendrick anywhere? I love her.
Yeah, isn't she great? She's so great. Again, she has like that comedy side to her, like all of the comedy stuff she's ever been in. But also I feel like she could go off. Like she did in Bridesmaids. She had some moments in there where she kind of went off the chain. This is another case where like, I don't know, I think she could like mix all of that stuff together to make something special.
For sure. That is a very good call.
All right, here's one.
Oh boy.
Scooter. Who you got for Scooter?
Man, how old is Scooter?
I assume Scooter's
an enigma to me.
I'm going to say late 20s or I'm going to say 30s. He's in his 30s.
I know that you're gonna say that the person I cast is probably too old. Who'd you go with?
I went with Andy Samberg. Shave Andy Samberg's head. Make him do because, okay, here's my thought with Scooter. Scooter is the most ridiculous character, I think, in this game. Yeah, he is absurd. So I need an absurd actor for this. And I only had two places. One was Jim Carrey, but again, Jim Carrey's too old. So then I went to Andy Samberg. Does Andy Samberg look like Scooter? No. But Andy Samberg can method act if he wanted to.
It's true.
Like, just make him go crazy, and then you get Scooter.
Well, again, going back to the age thing, I disregarded that, and I did go with Jim Carrey.
See, but that, like,
because the man can do whatever he wants.
See, that's the thing, is for this kind of role, you need someone to just be. You need someone to go all the way. Like, in the same way that Jim Carrey would go all the way with Ace Ventura or The Grinch, even. Like, the man can
look at Dr. Eggman. Look at Sonic from a year ago.
Yeah. There was
all in for everything.
There was a viral post that I saw going around everywhere. It was on Twitter, it was on Reddit, it was everywhere. It was like a casting thing that Jim Carrey did back in the late 80s, I think, maybe early 90s, where he was just doing impersonations of different celebrities. Yeah. And like he could just like shape his face in a way that made him
How does he do that?
I don't know. But that's what you need, is somebody that can like just completely take the room and make it all about him.
Yeah.
And I think that, again, I didn't go with Jim Carrey because I don't think that he would fit in this, but I think that Andy Samberg is sort of like that next guy.
Sure. Real question though, like, does he have extra muscles in his face?
I don't know. It's like Taffy. Like, what is? Maybe he has like.
But
is he a machine?
Like he essentially is a. Oh my god, I can't think of the guy's name. And he would also be a very good choice for Roland. What the hell? Why can't? Who's is it Lieutenant from Brooklyn Nine-Nine?
Oh, Terry Crews.
You know how Terry Crews does that thing where like he can just lift his pectorals?
Sure. Yeah.
Jim Carrey does that but with his face.
Yeah.
Same concept. Same energy.
For sure. Okay, who's next?
So apparently I'm casting the Borderlands movie where they're all like middle-aged.
The middle-aged Borderlands.
You're casting the young blood, the real Borderlands.
Moving on, the other thing that I did, I wasn't like conscious about it because these are pretty much all A-list actors. This would be a fucking like Avengers level.
This
budget.
Is high budget.
Sure. Okay, so moving on to Mad Moxie. Who you got for Mad Moxie?
I wasn't 100% sure who to go with. This was one of the last ones that I had to pick. And I assume she's done acting. I don't really know that for sure, but she is obviously very accustomed to being center stage, so I think she'd be just fine. I went with Katy Perry. Because I think she would do a good job with that. Plus, Mad Moxie has some real out there outfits.
Sure.
And I think Katy Perry would do a very good job of wearing them and pulling them off.
I think that's a good, I could see her. She almost sort of looks like the character too, in my mind.
Yeah. And that was obviously, in case my list hasn't given it away, that was a large first kind of gut instinct was I went with what actor or actress do I know that at least has some resemblance to what this character looks like. I mean, case in point, Brick being the mountain.
Yeah. For me, I went with I just try to find the person who's like the best femme fatale, basically.
Sure.
And I landed on ScarJo, going with Scarlett Johansson.
All right, I could see it.
Here's probably my favorite casting for my list is Dr. Zed. This is my favorite, I think, of my list.
Who'd you go with?
You have to have a cameo. And Dr. Zed is the
Okay.
cameo character.
Okay.
I think if you cast this person that I'm going to name in a second in any other role in this movie, and this movie becomes about that character. So I had to put him in like a cameo role, which would be Dr. Zed. I'm going with Keanu Reeves for Dr. Zed.
Okay. Alrighty. I went a very different approach, and again, older, but Zed is older too, I think. So I went with, I'm gonna butcher his name, John C. McGinley, aka Dr. Cox from Scrubs.
Oh, yeah. He hasn't been in anything forever, it feels like.
Yeah. And he obviously knows how to be kind of a dickhead, sarcastic doctor, because that was his job for years.
That's true. That's
So I think
very
he'd
true.
do a great job.
Yeah,
as Dr.
he has
Zed.
that role nailed down for sure. I like that one. But yeah, I just love the idea of like them walking into the clinic or whatever, and then Keanu Reeves like pulling back the curtain. I just love that idea.
Just a real quick like introduction.
Yeah,
from there on,
basically.
he's just the voice in the like
Vending machine or
vending
whatever.
machine.
Yeah. Who do you got for Marcus?
This is probably my hardest one to pick because I really couldn't think of anybody
Really?
good. However, I think I landed on a decent one. Maybe depends on his accents. Although if you're a Hollywood actor, I assume that you have a at least basic kind of accent list in your repertoire. I went with Jonah Hill.
That's a good one. I thought about putting Jonah Hill actually as I can't remember who, somebody else. But yeah, no, I could see Jonah Hill there.
So that's who I went with.
I went with loud man. I just wanted the loudest man I could get, and that man is Danny DeVito.
Oh, that's a good one. I like that. That is a really good one.
I thought that, they could do his makeup in a way that would make him look like Marcus. It would be, they would probably, again, he's pretty short compared to what I think Marcus's height is, but they could play around with that, I think, in post-processing.
Yeah, they can do anything.
Sure. Danny DeVito I have. Now here's the one, I don't remember this fucking person at all, but apparently she was the main antagonist of the game. Commandant Steele was apparently the main antagonist of the Crimson Raiders from this game. And I don't remember anything about her, anything about the Crimson Raiders. Apparently, I mean, I don't really remember the Crimson Raiders at all prior to Borderlands 2. So apparently, like, during Borderlands 1, the story is that they destroyed the Crimson Raiders, and then Roland was just like, well, I'm just going to take this. It's mine now, I guess.
Yeah, I remember going to Old Haven, which is where the Crimson Raiders were.
Right.
And you just wrecked their shit.
I remember that.
I don't remember Steel being. I remember it being like a mini boss, but I don't remember her being.
Well, there was a thing you fought the monster at the end of the game, which was the boss, but she was the main. She was the essentially the handsome Jack of that game.
I don't remember hating her. Or loving her.
I don't remember anything
having
about her.
Strong feelings.
I'm
about her.
that Mad Men thing where it's like I think about you every day and night or whatever. I don't think about you at all. It's that I don't know this person at all, but I know she's a woman and I know that she's the antagonist. So I went with Kate Blanchett.
This wasn't on the list.
Yeah, it was.
No,
you're not. Oh, why is it on my list?
I don't know.
Oh. Well,
now I'm scrambling.
Now you got to find somebody. I'm going with Kate Blanchett, who, by the way, Kate Blanchett is currently cast as Lilith in this movie. We have two characters that are casted. We have Kevin Hart and we have Kate Blanchett. Kate Blanchett, I think, could play a good Lilith. That one's fine. However, based on what she did in the role of Hela in Thor Ragnarok, I think she makes like a fantastic villain. So I'll throw her in there.
Now that I see a picture of this Steel character, I don't remember her at all. The person I was thinking of was completely different.
Yeah, but like in the Borderlands wiki, it says she's the main antagonist of Borderlands.
What?
Commandant Steele, this is directly from the wiki. Commandant Steele is an officer in the Crimson Lands and the main antagonist of Borderlands. Apparently she survived, Steel would somehow be extracted from the destroyer and be claptrapped into serving Claptrap's new robot revolution. So maybe she was also in that weird Claptrap DLC. But yeah, she was the antagonist. I'm going with Cate Blanchett though. Cate Blanchett, you can keep your role in this movie. Rather, you can keep your job in this movie. I'm just moving you to a different role.
All right. Well, actually, real quick before I give my answer, are there any other names?
No, that was it.
Or any other characters that are magically missing?
Yeah,
from
I don't
my
know.
list?
I guess I just wrote that on my list and I didn't remember to put it in the other one.
Okay, well, since I felt so bad about not casting her somewhere because she is fantastic, and I don't know what this character does, so like she's gonna have to. She'll do a good job with it. Anna Kendrick, save us and become a villain. That's memorable because clearly this villain was not.
No.
If you have two people who played this game, and I know that you didn't really necessarily like love the first one, and probably didn't play it that much. I played the shit out of the first one because I played it with people. Like it wasn't about the story; it was about playing with people. But because of that, I played through the game multiple times, and I still don't remember this Steel character. So, Anna Kendrick, please work your magic. Bless up.
So now let's move on to the two post credits stingers. We get a mid credit stinger with Mr. Torg.
Yeah.
Who is your Mr. Torg?
I went. I think he's over the top. I really don't know because the thing he's from, where I know him, where everybody knows him from, everybody's over the top. And I hope that I'm remembering the right stereotypical person when I name this character. I went with Hulk Hogan.
I mean, Mr. Torg is essentially knockoff Hulk Hogan. Let's be honest.
Yeah, I guess. So why not not bring it back full circle?
Yeah. I went again thinking about character actors who are over the top. I went with Seth Rogen.
That's a good one.
I think just
that is a good casting.
Give him a mullet and just let him be loud, essentially.
Let him do his thing.
Now for the finale, the final credit stinger. This is at the end of the credits. It's setting up Borderlands 2, the movie. Who is your handsome Jack?
My handsome Jack. So I feel like I've got a gut feeling that we have the same person for this.
Really?
Maybe. Let's tease it a little bit. What is yours from Marvel?
Kind of. Not from the MC. Well, now I guess. I didn't pick him because of his role in Marvel.
It's definitely not the same person, I don't think, then.
Okay.
Because my logic was Handsome Jack is a rich asshole who went bad. So let's go with the rich asshole who was a good guy, but now make him act as a bad character. So Robert Downey Jr., let's go.
I thought about RDJ.
Bring your Tony Stark vibes. Just be a dick and evil instead of a dick but good.
Sure. I went with RDJ. I thought about him. But then I remembered that there's an even better person. Because I thought, first and foremost, handsome.
Yes.
We're talking about handsome Jack. And I mean, Robert Downey Jr. is a good looking guy. But
Robert Downey Jr., if you're listening, I think you're very handsome. Also, you're listening?
Yeah, right? What are you doing? Handsome.
You want to be on the podcast for...
Handsome.
Oh, my.
Plus snark. And again, Tony Stark in the MCU is that.
Yes.
But I think Ryan Reynolds is just the epitome of those two things.
That is a brilliant casting choice.
Yeah. So and he'll carry the movie is the thing. Like he'll come into our Borderlands 2 and he will be the dude from that movie.
It's true. That is a 3D chess brain, big brain. That's a galaxy brain pick that you have there. Can't believe I didn't think of the world's handsomest man.
Now here's the thing. We just casted both of these movies, and honestly, both of our casting lists are going to be better than what we get. Mainly
Without
because
a doubt.
we have no like salary cap or anything. But like,
Yeah.
we only have 2 characters casted so far, and one of them is a 0 out of 10 casting. So it's honestly, whatever we get is just going to be depressing because I know what we could have gotten now.
Yeah.
Who would you cast in the Borderlands movie? Let us know in the comment section below. Let us know on Twitter and in our Discord server.
Just
And
go
maybe
with all
we'll-
the characters that we listed off.
If we get any back, maybe we'll read them on next week's episode. If they're very good ones. So let us know, and you can be on the podcast.
Your ideas will represent you.
Let's move on to the news. News. What a week for news. I thought last week was a crazy week for news. This week is a weirder week for news. Last week we had GameStop, which is tanking again. And I read something. I don't want to look up the article because there's really no news about it other than the stock is tanking. And I saw apparently everybody on Reddit, that subreddit, is like going crazy right now because people are selling.
Yeah.
So it's
I mean,
turned as the turntables.
Here's the thing. Like, I understand that all those people understood how stocks work and how pricing works and all that stuff. I think they forgot about human greed.
Which
and
is
like in a vacuum scenario where you can control all this everything. Sure, that'll work out perfectly. You can get your way, you can win at the end. That's not how it is in real life. We're in a global pandemic and people have bills. Like, I get that it was kind of a moral stand up to the big guy movement kind of thing. But if you have to put food on a table for like a family, at some point you're probably going to sell, especially if, oh no, now I'm not sticking it to the man, but I made like 7 figures. Sorry?
yeah.
Anyways.
Let's stay on the Borderlands bandwagon for just one more little segment. Because Gearbox Entertainment was just purchased, essentially, by the Embracer Group in a $1.3 billion deal. This article comes from Matthew Handrahan over at GamesIndustry.biz. Embracer Group has made its most significant acquisition to date with a $1.3 billion deal for Borderlands developer Gearbox Entertainment. That figure was given as the maximum value of the transaction, which will see the Texas-based company become a wholly owned subsidiary of the Embracer Group. However, the deal is heavily balanced towards performance targets. On day one, the purchase gear of Gearbox will be $363 million, of which $175 million is in newly issued B shared in Embracer Group. Gearbox's owners could receive just over $1 billion if it hits its agreed 6-year performance targets, of which $360 million will be in Embracer shares. Gearbox Entertainment's 550-person team will join the Swedish group's 5,500 strong workforce. I thought this article talked about what Embracer Group was, and it doesn't. Let me just insert editorializing that this group also owns THQ Nordic, or it was previously THQ Nordic. It's essentially that conglomerate or whatever.
Sure.
So they're joining the corpse suit of THQ.
Yeah. I remember when that was happening, and that was horrifying.
Sure. So Randy Pitchford had stuff to say. He said, the feelings at Gearbox is that we are just getting started, and this transaction is not merely a stimulant for the talent of our employee-owned company, but a propellant for the exciting future we have planned.
Why is Randy still?
Why is he
still there?
I don't know. 2K Games has released a statement clarifying that its relationship with Gearbox and status as the publisher of Borderlands remains unaffected by Embracer's acquisition. As the proud publisher of the Borderlands franchise, we are happy for our partners at Gearbox and this exciting new chapter for their organization, the company said. The merger does not change 2K's relationship with Gearbox, nor our role as the publisher for the Borderlands IP or any other projects we are currently working on with the studio. We look forward to continuing our long-term partnership with this incredibly talented team and delivering many more exciting entertainment experiences to gaming fans around the world. So to sum it up, Gearbox is joining this Embracer Group thing.
Yep.
Borderlands is still owned by 2K. I'm assuming every other IP that Gearbox has developed for 2K is still going to be owned for 2K, including probably whatever they're doing next. Because the last game they put out was Borderlands 3, so they had to have been working on something else for the last year and a half, essentially. I would assume that 2K probably owns that.
One would think, yeah.
But in the future, might not be 2K. I don't know how I feel. First of all, I didn't know. First of all, I thought that Gearbox was owned by 2K. So this came as a surprise to me. I just always assumed, because all their games were published by 2K, that they were a 2K studio, but they were not. They were independent and published by 2K, which I find honestly really surprising. Like a studio of that size, they have almost like 600 person team. You would think that it would, at like that size, they would just self-publish.
Yeah.
But I guess 2K's money was too good to pass up, I guess. So yeah, I don't know, like Gearbox to me after Borderlands 3 is just like a shadow of their former self. I can't see myself ever enjoying anything Gearbox has put out. Like the last two games they really whiffed on, and the guy that owns the company is a piece of trash. And I don't know. Like THQ Nordic has not put out any games I've been super pumped about. Didn't you? Darksiders was theirs, right?
Yeah, they did Darksiders, which I liked the first one, didn't love the second one, didn't even beat the second one, stopped like halfway through. And I've actually heard good things about 3, but I know that things got weird where they like went bankrupt, but then it still came out, and I don't know if that was affected at all, or if it was like another studio that technically completed it. I really don't know what happened. It was a whole confusing mess. But I have heard that 3, I know critically a lot of people didn't like it, but I've heard that it's basically kind of a popcorn game. It's just some mindless fun. Like if you're looking for a super great plot, probably not going to be for you, but if you're just looking for action, mindless action, it's not a bad game to play, especially when it goes on sale for like $10.
Sure. I mean, I guess if Gearbox is happy, if those developers are happy, maybe we'll get something good out of it. It's just for me with Gearbox, it's you gotta show me, like you gotta prove it to me that this is something worth playing, because Battleborn was certainly not something that was worth playing. Battleborn servers actually just shut down 4 days ago, like permanently.
A couple days ago.
Yep. Yeah. Can't play that game anymore.
Rest in peace.
Then Borderlands 3 come out, super buggy, took away everything that I loved about the franchise. Like tons of characters missing that should have been there.
Yep.
I have no reason to play Gearbox games. Plus, Randy's a douche. Randy's a douche. There's no way around that. Randy Pitchford is a douche.
Yeah, a little bit.
Any thoughts? Any other thoughts before we move on?
Not really.
Okay.
I feel like I'm largely going to be unaffected by this just because, like you just said, Gearbox doesn't hold a special place for me at this point.
Let's move on to something that does have a special place for you then. Let's go to Nintendo World via DualShockers. Don't know why I picked this one, but I did. So DualShockers.com, Autocrat Key, wrote a little article about a tweet. Nintendo is apparently revamping its multiplayer server system, says Thomas, at ThomasNet_MC. The Nintendo Switch is a great console. Just look at its sales and say it's fundamentally bad. What? The Nintendo Switch is a great console. Just look at its sales and say it's fundamentally bad. That's sarcasm. It doesn't come across as great in text form. But there's one glaring issue with the
Oh,
console,
boy.
or rather, with Nintendo in general. The company doesn't have a great track record when it comes to providing players with quality online services. Multiplayer
Yes.
experiences in Nintendo games are often a mixed bag, with some being just fine and others being Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. However, that could all be changing very soon, according to a data miner. Nintendo is preparing to replace its multiplayer server system. Nintendo current What's that?
Crazy that they're going to invest anything in their online internet infrastructure.
Nintendo's current multiplayer server system, called Nex, has been used since the Wii U came out. However, it's much, much older than that, with a service record stretching back 18 years. Oatmeal Dome, the data miner, pointed out that this system includes a function for Splatoon 2 that checks if it's running on Windows 98.
Can't.
The next iteration of Nintendo's multiplayer system will be called NPLN, according to ThomasNet_MC on Twitter, a developer. NPLN is currently in a preview phase and was recently employed in the Monster Hunter Rise demo. In a thread, Thomas details the technical changes that will come with Nintendo Switch from Nex to NPLN. While it is jargon heavy, one thing is clear. If everything goes right and Nintendo uses all the tools that it will be at its disposal, this Switch could be a huge improvement. NAT and latency issues in Nintendo titles could soon be a thing of the past. For now, Nintendo's apparent goal is to make the transition as seamless as possible. If all goes well, players won't even notice that anything's changed. That's
not going well. That's bad.
That is until the quality of multiplayer games improve. In the meantime, we'll just have to wait for Nintendo to completely roll out NPLN. My takeaways from this article. Capcom must have been like, we made this game for you. This game is an exclusive Nintendo game. We're probably going to put it on the PC eventually, but this Monster Hunter game is for you, Nintendo. It's not going to run. You need to do something because this game is not going to work, and we are going to be the bad guys. Capcom is going to be the one that takes the blow when their game doesn't work. When it's not their fucking fault. It's Nintendo's fault for having servers that are 20 goddamn years old. So Capcom must have been like, look, you guys, please at least upgrade us to Windows 8. That's all I'm asking, man. Windows 8. Like, This is 100% from Capcom. I can almost guarantee you that like they made this game. It's not going to run. This is forcing Nintendo, who was never going to move unless they needed to.
Nintendo was never ever going to get a new server for internet and online multiplayer unless the old one burned down. And even then, they would just be like, "No, let's just get somebody to
go out to
fix it enough.
Let's go out to Akiba and like go to some of those. They must have some servers somewhere. Let's get some used servers. It'll be totally fine.
Get some used microchips and some wires, and take out the burnt ones. Put in these new ones, and we're good, right? That's how it all works.
So that's my first takeaway: is that this is all.
Sure.
I can almost guarantee it's because of Capcom that we're getting.
Yes, I can agree wholeheartedly with that.
My next takeaway is that I'm not, and granted, this is a lot of editorializing done by DualShockers, but they're right.
Yeah.
When they say, if everything goes right, and Nintendo uses all the tools that will be at its disposal, this Switch could be a huge improvement. Could be. When has Nintendo ever used all the tools at their disposal?
I haven't. I don't think once.
So yeah, like if everything goes right, they can make the transition as seamless as possible. But if what if it doesn't? Which is likely to happen. I don't know.
They're really good at a lot of things. Online infrastructure and multiplayer that isn't couch co-op is not one of those things.
So let's say best case scenario happens.
Sure.
They roll this thing out. These servers come online. There's no more. I forgot to turn on my sacred symbols. I just realized. They roll out the servers. It comes online. There's no hiccups. Everybody's happy. You can play Smash Brothers with no latency. It doesn't take 5,000 years to go to someone else's island in Animal Crossing anymore.
God bless.
Does Nintendo actually like use these servers strategically moving forward, or is this just for
This was a one time.
You're like, no. Nope. No.
This is a one-time thing. Enjoy it while it lasts.
So no updates.
They are not replacing and updating these servers until 20 years from now, when Capcom creates Monster Hunter whatever and is like, Nintendo, we've had this talk with you before. Here we are again. New faces, same problems. We cannot give you this exclusive game if you aren't running whatever future technology is at that point.
All I want,
your Nintendo, your online infrastructure, your server uses wires. My friend, we are in the age of using light to transfer all data and like not even have wires. We're in the future now. We're all flying cars. You are driving like a station
they're
wagon
still
from
driving
the
a
70s.
They're still driving a 1985 Honda Civic.
Yeah. No, Nintendo, they've never been good at internet stuff. I even read a book a while ago about Nintendo, and like they tried to get into it, but it just never really worked. And there was a lot of internal like disputes about how important it was. So until we see a big company shift internally, they're not going to continually invest and improve upon this kind of stuff.
The other thing that we found out, I mean, we've kind of always known this, but it was further reinforced, at least to me, this week. And that is that Nintendo is spiteful.
Yeah.
We talked about this very briefly on the Let's Play on Tuesday, but Nintendo had partnered with a couple production companies to make some Nintendo television and internet series. Mainly, there was going to be a Zelda television series. Was that a Netflix series or
Zelda was going to be, I believe, on Netflix, and it was going to be live action, if I remember right.
And then they also partnered with College Humor at some point in the past to do like a stop motion Star Fox thing.
Yes.
I assume with those weird ass fucking puppets that they had or whatever.
That's what it looked like.
So we found out this week, and I think it was a tweet or it was some, I don't know where the source was, but there was a reliable source that said Nintendo canceled these things because they were leaked. Someone leaked that we were getting these things, and they were like, no.
You don't get this anymore.
Nope. Not having it. So I'm sure when Nintendo hears people like us complain about their fucking online servers every other week for 10 or 15 years, they're never going to, they're like, no. Why would we give you that?
Here's what they do. Every time they hear a podcast like ours or see an angry tweet about their internet, they take a very small hammer and they go and they just whack their server.
That's one dude's
not
job.
Not enough to really damage it and cause issues and like force them to have to replace it and waste money.
But over time,
just enough that like after enough complaints, something's going to come loose and that server's not running quite where it needs to be anymore.
Wonderful.
That is somebody's job, without a doubt.
You know what's not somebody's job anymore?
What's that?
Making games at Google. Because Google Stadia shuts down internal studios, changing business focus.
Stadia, we're so close to getting me already a correct prediction for 2021. Come on. Go all the way.
This article comes from Steven Totillo over at Kotaku.com. Google Stadia, the late 2019 streaming platform that promised to revolutionize gaming by letting users stream games without needing to own a powerful PC or console, is altering course. getting out of the game making business and will now offer its platform directly to game publishers alongside offering Stadia Pro to the public. Okay.
To be fair,
I need to stop there for a second.
I didn't even realize or think that they were making their own games in the first place.
Sure. They are, and Amazon is as well. And Amazon actually came out and their new CEO, because Papa Jeff is no longer Papa Jeff.
He's tired of people yelling at him.
They came out and they reinforced that they're very dedicated and we're going to make games. Amazon came out and said that. But yeah, Google, that was always something that was in their back pocket and it just never panned out. Let me go back for a second. Steven, I don't want to give you like criticism, but I'm going to give you some criticism because that is a fucking like 50-word sentence. There's no period there.
The first paragraph of this article is in fact 4 lines and a little bit, and it is 1 sentence.
use periods. The company is announcing the news today. Though Kotaku today was what? Wednesday? Tuesday? Monday. It was Monday. Fucking that seems like so. That was a long time ago. The company announced Monday, though Kotaku began to hear rumblings from sources close to Stadia last week that Google's service was heading for a major change. Our games industry source told Kotaku that Google was canceling multiple projects, basically any games slated for release, beyond a specific 2021 window, though they believed games close to release would still come out. Today brings some clarification. Google will close its 2 game studios located in Montreal and Los Angeles. Neither had released any games yet. That closure will impact around 150 developers, one source familiar with Stadia operations said. The company says it will try to find those developers new roles at Google. Jade Raymond, the veteran producer who helped build Assassin's Creed for Ubisoft and moved on to EA several years ago before leaving to run creation at Stadia, is exiting the company, according to Google. Google will continue to operate the Stadia gaming service and its $10 monthly Stadia Pro service. It's unclear how many, if any, exclusive games will still come to the service, though the company has indicated they can still sign new games and will bring more third-party releases to the platform. It nevertheless will look to many like a drawdown of the plan to have Stadia run as a bona fide competitor to console platforms. That's the gist of it.
I know we've talked about this plenty of times. Why the hell? So Google started these 2 game studios, I have to think recently, right?
When Stadia launched, or a little bit before it launched, yeah. So 2019 probably is when they founded.
Not too terribly long ago. Why, oh why, did they join everybody else and start these studios in Montreal and Los Angeles?
I know that Montreal gives a ton of tax breaks to game developers.
Okay.
I
guess that makes sense then.
Montreal as a city is very aggressive when it comes to trying to get tech into it. Like Montreal wants to be Canada's tech city essentially.
Sure.
And so I know that they give really heavy tax breaks to companies, which is why
that makes sense.
Right. And that's why you see a bunch of studios opening in Montreal. Like we got a Ubisoft Montreal, we have an EA Montreal, we have all of these Montreal studios. It's because of that. So that makes sense. Los Angeles though, like Google's not even where's Google headquartered? Isn't it in San Jose?
I think so.
Or the Bay Area? I mean, like why Los Angeles? Why like I'm sure they have real
Mountain
estate
View,
or
California.
But I think they're
Mountain View.
I don't know.
Let's look at a map. Let's see what's
There's lots of mountains in California. It could be anywhere.
Okay, there we go. Mountain View is right by fucking San Francisco.
Sure.
It's between San Francisco and San Jose.
I'm sure that Google has property in LA. I'm sure they have already offices in LA too.
Yeah.
So maybe they didn't need to go out and do all of the legwork. Like maybe they could still house that within the footprint they already own. Maybe it's not that big of a deal. But cost of living by itself, really high. Especially when you're talking about an experimental game service with small teams. I mean, if we're only talking about 150? 125 or something?
Closure will impact about around 150 developers.
So if those 2 teams were evenly split, we're only talking about 75 developers apiece.
Yeah.
Which is not that many when it comes to AAA development.
No.
We're talking about essentially higher tier indie games, maybe even mobile games, which is probably more likely what it was. But yeah, to choose to set those studios up is pretty amazing. The thing that is more amazing to me, though, is that they didn't release anything.
Yeah.
In a year and a half. And I get that game development timelines are longer than that, and like that's not the surprising part to me. The surprising part is that we haven't heard anything. Google set these up and they didn't even let them go for a full 2 years. Like, they didn't give them any time. And that is the key for me in Google and gaming. I understand, like, Stadia as a service is a neat idea. And we had a discussion in the Discord server about this. Google, to me, is just that they have never shown that they are the company that wants to do this right. Because they didn't let these developers do anything. Like, they have no idea about game development. They brought in whatever that dude was from EA, Jade Raymond, that was at Ubisoft and EA, like, because he knows about game development. But clearly he came in, Google gave him directives and didn't want to listen to him when they found out what it actually takes to develop games.
Yeah.
Because they didn't do enough. I don't know. They're good. They should do the research. They should have done the research.
They should have fucking Googled how long it takes to make a game.
It's just like, I assume I'm making a lot of assumptions, but like, you can see the writing on the wall, like how this all went down.
Yeah. Oh, sure.
They wanted to compete with Microsoft in Game Pass, and they wanted to compete in the gaming sphere against Amazon. When Amazon goes out and buys Twitch and like is starting to mobilize in this industry too, Google's like, well, we got to compete too, or else we're going to be left behind. But then they don't commit to it. They don't actually, all they see is the dollars. They don't see the reason why they're doing the service. Like, Amazon bought Twitch because they legitimately wanted to get into that space. And I still don't know that Amazon's going to be able to do it, but at least they have that knowledge. They have that institutional knowledge. Google doesn't have that. They've never had it. And it's clear they didn't have it because they didn't I wonder how many games were canceled. Like, how many projects did these two studios start and then have to stop, either because Google found out it was going to take too long to develop, or it was just not what Google was envisioning?
Yeah.
Like, did they found these studios with, again, 150 people and think they were going to get Assassin's Creed? Did they think they were going to get Halo or God of War? Or, like, no, we're talking about games that take 400 people to develop, and you got 150 and divide them into two teams.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think it is, and this is obviously based a lot of assumptions, a lot of conjecture, but Google was never in it for the right reasons. And I think this, as you just said, pretty much proves it without them straight up admitting it.
And so they say they're going to continue bringing games to the platform. It's not going anywhere. Stadia Pro's still going to stick around. You know, you're safe with Stadia. But this is also, again, writing on the wall that this is not something that they are invested in. Like, if they don't even
safe with Stadia until they decide that it's not making them enough money.
Sure.
And they don't want to deal with it anymore.
Yeah. It's not quite snake oil because they gave you an actual product. You know, like, you're playing the game. It works almost all of the time. It was by far the best way to play Cyberpunk, which is really surprising. But like, if you were going to play Cyberpunk, that was the best place to play it.
Yeah.
Because it worked.
You were able to, I think, play Cyberpunk on Switch because of Stadia, if I remember right.
Sure. So it wasn't snake oil. They weren't selling you nothing. But
no.
If you bought into Stadia thinking it was going to be around when the writing was on the wall to begin with, that this was going to happen, like, there's no way you can this is done. It's just, how long are they going to do it? How long are they going to
drag their feet for?
To your point from your predictions earlier this year, really, I think the smartest thing to do is just sell it. Sell the technology.
Or partner with somebody, or however you want to describe it. But let somebody who actually knows what they're doing take the reins.
Go to PlayStation. Go to Sony and be like, hey, you have this thing that we don't have, and we have this thing that you don't have. Well, maybe let's make something great. That's all it would take.
Yeah.
That's all it would take. That's a huge, monumental undertaking that would happen.
No,
But
we just explained how it works right here.
yeah. They're not gonna go to Microsoft. They're not gonna go to Amazon
No,
because those are their
definitely not.
competitors. Sony's not necessarily their competitor. Steam isn't necessarily their competitor. They can go
God, wouldn't
to
it be
Valve.
wouldn't it be miserable if they went to Nintendo?
Here's what Nintendo would do. Yes, this sounds like a great idea. Google. What are those? Oh, those are our servers.
Yeah.
What year are it doesn't matter. That's what we're going to use to run your service.
They're the servers.
Oh, by the way, is your service Windows XP compatible? Because that's important.
Oh
my
man.
gosh.
Yeah, hopefully Google just after that article that just came out and after that information about Nintendo's online infrastructure, hopefully Google just avoids reaching out to Nintendo. Period.
It's just like it's because this it works.
Yeah.
Stadia works. It's just Google's messaging has always been terrible, and the service itself, like the whole like subscription side of it, has always been half-assed. You need to have the whole picture, and they just never have had it. There's ways for them to do it, and we'll see, I guess, if they ever turn it around. But for now, it's they are who we thought they were.
100%. You're so close. Give me the prediction. Come on.
Let's
You're right there.
finish this podcast with a little news out of PlayStation. We have two Sony stories. We'll go with this big, it's not really a big one, but it's an interesting one.
What was the second story?
I didn't put it on there because it
Okay.
just kind of came up. This article comes from videogameschronicle.com, which was not the website that I wanted to use, but I couldn't find the actual article, so I had to settle on this. But Sony takes a 1.9% stake in From Software's parent company. Kadokawa Corporation is the name of that company. So Andy Robinson over at Video Games Chronicle writes, Kadokawa Corporation, the parent company of Bloodborne and Dark Souls studio From Software, has formed a capital alliance with Sony, it announced on Wednesday. The Japanese media conglomerate, which also owns manga, publishing, and film companies, said its latest financial reports that it had given Sony a 1.93% ownership as part of the financial deal. As part of the alliance, smartphone firm CyberAgent will also receive the same percentage of shares in the company. In its latest financial results, Kadokawa said the capital alliance would allow it to utilize Sony's global expansion power of animation and consumer games. The deal would facilitate the creation, development, and acquisition of new IP, in addition to allowing it to maximize the value of the abundant IP that we already own. We believe that it is necessary to procure such funds in order to not miss potential investment opportunities and to solidify our ability to create IP based on our track record of creating rich and unique IP consisting of a diverse portfolio of books, movies, animations, games, and UGC platforms, both financially and financially, it said.
Yes. Financially and financially.
To create IP based on our track record of creating rich and unique IP consisting of a diverse portfolio of books, movies, animations, games, and UGC platforms, both financially and financially, it said.
Perfect.
Great.
Top tier reporting.
So, Kadokawa Corporation owns From Software. It also owns a ton of manga and anime stuff.
Yes.
While it's interesting that they own From Software, I think it's more interesting that they own manga and anime stuff. Because Sony just went out and was like $10 billion to buy Crunchyroll.
Yeah.
I think that this is mostly for that. However,
I agree.
Sony has always had a great relationship with From Software. They have several From Software exclusive PlayStation titles. it's not surprising that they would want to deepen that relationship too. I don't know that like FromSoft, I don't think plays a role in this, but I think that it could result in something in the future.
Yeah, it'll be a happy little like side effect.
Sure.
An afterthought, if you will.
I don't know whether this strengthens or weakens my prediction that Sony is going to buy From Software this year.
Yeah, I don't know either, because this wasn't a big move.
No.
Specifically for From Software. But like there is still stuff going on. Like their relationship is deep, and it's basically what you're having is Sony is the main character in this Persona world, and they got 1 rank up out of 10 with their confidant.
Yeah, we're like at like rank. Like if Demon Souls,
you were already at like rank like 4.
Yeah, I would say maybe even 5 or 6.
Sure.
Like after Bloodborne and then the Demon Souls remake. Like I think that you're probably getting close to like maybe the part where you like start to see romantic things happen.
Yeah,
You're at like, I think this is like we're at rank 6 now, I think.
I can agree with that. That's a good placement. There's little hints being dropped.
Yeah.
Nothing like no declarations of love for From Software. No standing outside their window with a boombox. It's just little notes here and there, little subtle things.
Sure. The characters are standing next to each other in a scene. It must mean that they're shipped.
From Software is blushing heavily.
Yes. In other news, PlayStation is publishing an Xbox game, John, because we live in the weirdest timeline.
What a world.
This article comes from Matt Purslow over at IGN.com. MLB The Show 21 announced for Xbox and PlayStation. MLB The Show 21, the latest installment of the PlayStation exclusive baseball series from Sony first-party developer San Diego Studio, has been announced for both PlayStation and Xbox consoles. Launching on April 20th, it will be available across both generations with PS4, Xbox One versions retailing at $59.99 and the next-gen versions at $69.99. The advent...
What if they were like, the PlayStation version is $59.99, but the Xbox version is $79.99?
The advent of a new platform for the game also means cross-platform play, and cross-progression has been introduced, meaning the MLB The Show 21 players can carry progression between both PlayStation and Xbox platforms, as well as play multiplayer with all players.
You earn
on
double
both
XP
console
if you play on
families.
the PlayStation.
Further, new features will be revealed as a part of a series of 6 feature premiere streams. That doesn't matter. There was a remark in here, and it's not in here.
Sad. What was the remark? Sum it up.
Basically, there was a press release from Xbox, essentially, talking about it. And it didn't really talk about PlayStation at all. It was just talking about like, hey, we're getting the game. We're getting a baseball game, guys. We haven't had a real baseball sim in 20 years or whatever, and we finally have it. We got Sony. We got San Diego Studio. We got MLB and the MLB Players Association. Thank you all for making this happen because we finally have a baseball sim on an Xbox console. But that's in there. They were like, thank you to Sony, thank you to San Diego Studio, and then thank you to MLB, and thank you to the MLB Players Association. They specifically said those 2 things in there. Which to me says that this was 100% motivated by the MLB, and PlayStation begrudgingly did it lest they lose the exclusive license that they've held onto for at least the last decade.
Yeah, if you're going to follow the money, I would say you are right.
Because that's where, like, when you get these licensing things, like the MLB could just be like, well, okay, you've done that. Like, this game is critically the best baseball game that's ever been made. Like, MLB The Show is consistently in the 90s. Like, they nail this series.
I don't understand how, from a gameplay perspective, like, personally, but I'm not a huge baseball fan.
I'm that way with all sports games. Like, I don't understand like why Madden is rated highly certain years or...
Sure.
I forgot a news story. We'll get back to that.
You did.
Anyway, with MLB, this like they are the best developer, and they're the only ones that have the actual, maybe not the only ones, but they have an exclusive contract with MLB to do like a baseball sim. All of the other baseball games that come out are more arcadey. They're not actual sims. They're more, I don't know what the difference there is. I'm not a sports game guy, so I can't explain the difference, but there is a difference.
I get what you're saying.
MLB at the next contract negotiation could just be like, well, you know, we could make a lot more money if you put this here. And if you're not going to do that, then we'll find someone that will.
Like, we get that PlayStation is very aggressively outselling Xbox, but there's still a lot of Xboxes out there.
Yeah.
We want a piece of that. So, and Xbox has shown that they're fine with, I mean, they bought Bethesda and they were like, hey, don't worry, we're not going to be exclusive titles only. We're going to let all of our games go everywhere. We want that as a business we don't really care about, I imagine they don't really care about Sony in particular. They just care about how much money Sony can make them.
Right.
So
yeah, I see this. I see this as a total MLB move. This is not PlayStation like being nice. This is not any kind of like tea leaf situation where we're gonna get other PlayStation games on Xbox or other Xbox games on PlayStation. This is 100% we had to do this, or we were gonna lose the license probably.
Yep.
Which would have been a shame because again, San Diego Studio has been nailing this series forever. So. It's really a win-win for everybody except for PlayStation.
This was the best possible outcome, I think.
I think the only one that is upset about this at all is PlayStation. And even then, they're still making more money. So
yeah, they're still making bank off of it. Sure. So they can't be that mad.
If you go and watch the trailer, the one that the Xbox Twitter account put up, it's really fucking weird because you have the trailer starts and it's the green Xbox splash screen where the X like comes up. It's like, woo.
Yeah.
And then the next screen is just a black PlayStation Studios screen with like the PlayStation on. It's so weird.
That's uncomfortable.
It's very weird. But
anyways,
I forgot a news story.
You missed a major story this week.
I sure did, because EA Sports is bringing back NCAA football after almost a decade of it not existing.
2014, I think, was the last one, right?
Yes. Because Denard Robinson from the Michigan Wolverines was on the cut. No, 24. No, it was before that.
Are you sure?
Last NCAA football game. Or maybe it was 14. Oh, it was.
Only reason I know that is because I spent some time looking at various things about this.
That's so... I don't remember Denard Robinson. I feel like he was... Okay, whatever. Anyway... We're getting that game again. This article comes from ESPN.com. EA Sports is coming back to college football. After last making a college football video game in 2013, the possibility of the game returning had been in limbo. Now it isn't. Daryl Holt, EA Sports Vice President and General Manager, told ESPN the game maker will be returning to the space with EA Sports College Football. As we look for the momentum that we're building on in sports, it all starts with the passion of our fans and the opportunities of what they are interested in. I don't think there's a visit where I go outside wearing a piece of EA Sports branded apparel that someone doesn't go, hey, when is college football coming back? It will, at some point, Holt said. There is not a date on when the game will return or even a date with the return or when the return will be announced, other than it won't be coming back this year. To make the game happen, EA Sports partnered with collegiate licensing company CLC to make sure it had the FBS schools, traditions, uniforms, and playbooks. Over 100 teams will be in the game. For now, EA Sports is planning to move forward without rosters that include the names, images, or likenesses of real college players. Current NCAA rules prohibit athletes from selling their NIL rights while in college. However, those rules are likely to be changed at some point in the coming year by the NCAA, state legislatures, or Congress. It's not clear whether the evolving rules will allow for the kind of group licensing arrangements that would be needed for EA Sports to negotiate with athletes to use their names in the game. After EA Sports' announcement, Senator Chris Murphy of Connecticut issued a statement saying that he would introduce legislation to help players finally profit off their talent so they don't need to face continued mistreatment like this. Holt said that EA Sports will monitor the NIL discussions if and when things change, but that it's too early for that to happen. He also said that what happens in NIL legislation will not change whether the game happens or when it will end up on shelves. That's essentially the gist of it. NCAA football is coming back. It's not coming back this year. It's coming back at some point soon. And I think the main reason they're doing that is because they are waiting on this legislation. Because we've seen this, we don't talk about college sports often on this podcast, but college sports have been evolving over the last couple of years, especially with several states now having laws that allow athletes to make money off of their image or likeness or whatever it might be.
Yeah.
However, the NCAA as a institution does not allow that. However, as the article just said, there's a senator from Connecticut that is introducing legislation in Congress. The NCAA has had internal talks about this. The schools have all been talking about this forever. It seems like this is now finally like a done deal.
Yeah.
And now that it is a done deal, NCAA football can come back because it makes sense.
That was the big holdup. Yeah, that was the essentially thing that killed it.
Yeah.
Just all the legalities. So
I have fond memories of this game. I liked that there was a lot of customization with it, like because they didn't have the rosters, like you basically just had the numbers. So like I knew that Terrell Pryor was number 11 or whatever in NCAA football 2010, but he wasn't named Terrell Pryor. However, you could get a USB stick and go to your computer and download a save file that had everybody's names in it that somebody else created on a spreadsheet and just upload it into
somebody else. It was somebody at EA.
Probably. So you could do all that on your own. The thing that I liked most about it is that other stuff. Like, I love college sports because of the pageantry, because of the traditions and all that stuff.
Yeah,
And
for sure.
they
That's
have-
why I don't really care about pro football,
Sure.
but I really like college football still.
And they have, like in the games in the past, they've always done a pretty decent job at replicating some of that. I'm really excited to see what that looks like in 2021 because we haven't seen that in a decade, probably by the time we finally get this game.
Lots of technological advancement.
Yeah, so I'm excited to see what happens there. This was a game that I did enjoy. It was the only sports game I really ever put any time into. I highly doubt this is something I'm going to buy every year, but I'll probably buy the first one when it comes back because it's been so long.
I also never really got into sports games, and by the time that I would have gotten into a college football sports game, it was gone. I didn't have the chance to. I could have, I guess, gotten an old one, but like by the time I cared, it was probably around 2014, and it would have probably been expensive to get a copy of that by that point. Maybe not immediately, but like by the time that I had the time to get into this kind of thing, it probably would have been closer to 2016. And at that point, it was like, oh, you want a copy of this game that like legally can't be made anymore? How much money you got?
I have no intention of getting into sports games. It's not like I'm going to buy this and spend as much time as I'm playing Apex Legends or Overwatch or anything, but I will play it for a weekend or something and I'll get my enjoyment out of it and that'll be it.
I'll make my super team. I'll pump up the stats for everybody on my team and have them steamroll all the teams that I hate.
I hope they bring back they had a mascot mode.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
I hope they bring that back.
That'd be nice. They should be able to, because that has nothing to do with the players and their likeness.
Sure, that's all school. That should be fine.
That's part of the school and pageantry and stuff like that. So you should be okay.
I think that's our last news story. You got anything else you want to discuss?
There was a cool little thing that was completed sometime in the past week or so. Just a little highlight, not really a news story. But there was somebody, I think on Twitch, who completed a 100% completion of Breath of the Wild, taking 0 damage in the entire playthrough. And I cannot imagine how stressful that would be. Because that is not a short game. to get 100% completion.
No,
Like, yeah, you can skip a lot of stuff and like go crazy and like exploit the game, but that's not 100% completion.
I wouldn't necessarily like. I could see how someone could do that from a like against the enemies, like with like fighting Ganon, fighting all the like mini bosses or whatever, like all the little mobs out in the world. I get that part.
Yeah.
But fall damage or like
the random bullshit where you just like had a little accident
or like a bomb dropped too close to, like that. Yeah, that's insane.
Yeah. And they didn't like abuse saves from what I've read. If they got damaged, they restarted the run.
You're an insane person, but I congratulate you. Yeah.
I hope you get in the Guinness Book of World Records because you'll stay in there forever. I say that, but then you know what's going to happen. In less than a year, someone's going to do this, but with the Dance Dance Revolution dance pad.
And then the flight stick, and then the Guitar Hero controller.
Yep.
Whatever else comes out next.
That's how it goes.
Thank you for tuning in to this week's episode of the QuickTime Event Podcast. I hope you enjoyed your time with us. If you liked what you heard, you can find us live on YouTube every Thursday at 8:30 p.m. Eastern Time. Find us on QuickTimeEvent.net. You can also find me on Twitter at Josh Clasen. John is on Twitter at John Kameko. Join our Discord server. Link is in the description below. And yeah, that's about it. Let us know who you casted in the Borderlands movie again. We will read some of those off next week if we get any submissions. But until then, I hope you have yourselves a nice weekend. If it's snowing or it's going to be really cold in your area, please stay warm.
Stay safe.
You shouldn't be leaving the house anyway, so that should be fine. But
yeah, we're in a global pandemic. Yeah.
All right, we'll see you all next week.
Goodbye, friends.